The rundown on how our forum is going to run. I first want to thank all of the candidates who have been willing to attend this forum from districts 1, 3, and 7. We will be going in a slightly different order than that. We will start with the District 3 candidates because they have another forum to attend. And so we'll get them interviewed and be able to leave to go to their next forum. And then we will go to the District 1 candidates and then the District 7 candidates. The format will be each candidate has received 3 questions in advance. They will be answering them conversationally with our moderator. And then if you want to and you think of questions, you can put them in the Q&A. And we will get to as many questions as we can after we have a conversation with each of the candidates. And now I would like to introduce our moderator, Azucena Rasilla, who is our arts and culture maven from the Oaklandside. And you may not know, she's also a bilingual Spanish-English journalist. She's covered arts and culture issues for KQED, the San Francisco Chronicle, the East Bay Express when we had it. Boy, I missed that newspaper. And so I want to thank Azucena for joining us to do this and welcome her to start.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining on this Wednesday afternoon. Thank you to all the candidates who are joining. As Vanessa mentioned and Lori earlier today, all the candidates got the questions ahead of time. It's just 3 questions. So the way that we're going to do it is every time I call a district, we're going to start with District 3. We're sort of going to start a conversation with each candidate, 6 minutes. If I feel that you're sort of going off track, talking about something that has nothing to do with arts and culture, I'm going to roll you back in to keep the conversation going really specific about arts and culture. And I want to welcome first the District 3 candidates. We have Baba Afolabi, current council member Carol Fife, Michelle Haley, and Warren Logan. So welcome to the 3 of you. Baba Afolabi, we're going to start with you. You're the first one on my list. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're there you go. Thank you so much for joining us. So basically, we want to hear from you. This is, all the forums that you all have attended and will continue to attend, played a big focus on public safety. Of course, that is the current conversation in the city and with citizens' concerns. But we want to focus on the role that arts and culture has played in your life, being here in Oakland. How do you see arts organizations and artists being a part of the conversation surrounding public safety? How should those 2 conversations, public safety and arts and culture, sort of collide? And how do you see the city of Oakland making a bigger investment than there currently is with culture makers? In the past decade, this vital part of the city has been severely underfunded. There's like less than $1 million was allocated for the 2024-2025. And of course, with that is less money for grant funding to support artists and arts organizations. And we saw that delaying grants, less money with the cancellation of Art and Soul Festival this year. We saw it with currently with Wire Media, also having issues with delayed funding, not getting enough funding. So talk to me a little bit about, the role of arts and culture and your vision for how you see making it an investment if you become council member. I'm going to start the timer. You'll see it at the corner of your screen, and we're going to have 6 minutes to kind of chat.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Baba Afolabi, and, I have lived in the district for 26 years. I'm a creative. I'm a business owner. I'm a father of 2. Art and culture play a significant role in my life because I'm a creator. I was a designer at one point, started my own brand in 2027 when I was in Japan. So I'm very familiar with this landscape. And as someone who has created businesses around the District 3, in every junction of my businesses that I've created, I've engaged in art community. One of my pride and joy was in the mid 2000s. I was part of the people that activated Old Oakland back in the day, because in the African community used to go to a store there that used to be called Housewife, and it's called Swan's Market now. And we used to all gather around there, and over the time, we had a sneaker shop, we had a studio, we have a retail space, we have a Ketinji Omi gallery is actually right there right now. By 2020, I think Viviana Federica came in I think 2013, 2014. So I say that to say, I've pretty much been part of the community, building and creating. So, and as a business owner, moved to 2028, when we have the economic downturn, we have a huge blowout, with Occupy Wall Street. It spread over to Oakland by 2011, and we started something called In the Black in November to counter the Black Friday that people were doing. I was also part of the creative that was called on to activate storefronts around there, and we were doing a lot of gallery installations. My friends like Marco Orange was doing movie screening, like short movie screening. So when I think back, when I get asked this question, I get excited, because that's been part of what I've been cultivating and creating in Oakland. And for me, because I have an MBA degree, I'm able to kind of like merge business with art. One of the greatest lies they've ever told artists is like they cannot make money off of what they created, right? So for me, I've been able to really shift that paradigm and be able to create something and make money off it. Another thing that I want to highlight is when I opened my first storefront in 2013 in the Latham Square area, we were met with a lot of challenges with the city, because when they were updating that space, it became a sore high for a lot of people because it was closed off and there was a lot of dust. We were able to activate that. I don't know if any of you guys remember, First Friday used to be from 27th to like 16th Street. It was a lot, when at the height of it, they have to cut it back because it becomes so huge. People were coming from the bar and they just find themselves in the middle of the artist. They have to cut it back. So my store was part of that, and we give a lot of OSA students an opportunity to showcase their talent. Every First Friday, we set up booths for them. We created with a lot of people, fire department and police department, to make that happen. So I say all of this to say, for me, art and culture is the soul of the city, and is the attraction that can actually help our revenue grow. As a business-minded person on my platform, I really, really identify that. And with that being said, we also have the Black Business Cultural District, from the 14th Street onward. I've been part of that as well, because I did like a barbershop, I did a arts installation around that area. So for me, I've always been involved in this community, and I know a lot of people are around that community. So to answer your question regarding how do we invest more, how that help us with safety, when you think about it, a lot of youth are involved. When we engage them with art, they stay off the streets. And I'm a father of two, of a 10-year-old and 5-year-old. We go to the museum almost every Friday that I have the opportunity to. So I'm exposing them to that. We've gone to Art More. Every year we go to different museums. We've gone all the way to Gilroy to expose them to different things. So when you start connecting this to youth, which I believe we really need to understand that they are the hallmark and our safety relies on them, because we have 14 to 18, 20 years old right now that's acting out of line. And it's because 10 years ago, we did not prioritize them. So now that we're here, we need to prioritize our 5, 9-year-olds to say they are the future. If they're truly the future, we need to invest in them. And one of the best ways to invest in them is really to get them into the art community and get them engaged so that they can stay off the street. So for me, when I become the city council, I will ensure that we have money hallmark for the art and culture community. Now, when I read that you said it was 1.6, now it is 1 million, that's ridiculous. So that needs to be changed. We don't need to rely on philanthropies and grants. It needs to be earmarked in the budget as a need, not a want, not something that we can just, take off. We need to invest, because the numbers shows us that people come for art. People come to get entertained. I mean, I have a background. One of my things is coming from London. There's a festival called the Notting Hill Festival. That festival is the second largest festival in the world, and it brings 350 million pounds to London. Every single weekend they do that thing. So that's my spiel. So thank you.
Mohammed, thank you so much. Now I want to welcome current council member Carol Fife to the spotlight with me. Welcome, Council Member Fife. Thank you for joining us. We're going to have 6 minutes to kind of hear a little bit from you. And of course, I want to start by saying that with you, part of the revitalizing arts and culture is the film initiative, which is currently something that we will be seeing the fruit of in the very near future. So, with that, tell us a little bit about more of how the arts have played a role in your life, and what else do you see advocating for and doing to revitalize arts and culture? We'll give you 6 minutes.
First of all, if you all don't know me, and a lot of people here do, I don't like talking. 6 minutes is a long time. I'm going to try to get in the key information. I just got to listen to my voice for 6 minutes straight. So I'm really going to try to answer the questions, and if it's okay, try to touch on the others that you asked in there as well. But in my life, art has played a major role. I see myself as an amateur artist because it's the first thing I remember doing as a child, is really being engaged in using my hands to express myself. My parents say I didn't talk until I was like 4. And so one of the things that I used to spend my time doing as an introverted child is just playing in my crayons. And so when they came out with 120 some odd box of Crayola crayons, I like lost my mind. And I've been creating ever since. So I currently, my medium of choice is acrylics. And I like to do large pieces, but I, as an introverted, shy kid, used to spend my time, like when I was anxious or sad or happy, just drawing or painting, watercolors, like even sculpting, clay, and all of those things, which I still do when I'm really stressed today. So I understand personally that the role arts plays when it comes to just physical and mental health. Like, it takes energy to transfer what you're thinking in your mind and to create something in the tangible world. But I also, as a teacher, as an educator, especially for early childhood education, use arts to, support the development of my young people. It plays an important role in cognitive development. And I think removing arts from our public schools is part of the reason that we have so many challenges in Oakland today, because arts is not prioritized. And I just know the outlet that it was for me and some of my students. And in fact, art as poetry was one of the ways that I used to really pull in young people at Street Academy when I taught at Street Academy. When, the first day of school, when I came in to teach English, I had security stay in my classroom for the first 2 hours. And forgive me if my mom was here, I would apologize as well. But when security left on my 3rd period, I was like, why the fuck do they need security here for y'all? What is this about? And then when I started talking to them and pulling from their stories and welcoming them into the process of telling their stories through poetry and art, I had the most amazing experience. And the kids that were seen to be violent and aggressive, completely transformed. And I think when we invest in arts, we create the reality and the city and the culture that we want to see. And I'll be honest, it's going to be really difficult in this climate of fear, where fear mongering is the way to control people and to create a different reality. It's hard to invest in arts. When we have a severe budget deficit, it's not me that's going to make the decisions. It's the people of Oakland that are going to demand to see those budget dollars go into funding arts because of the return on the investment. Right now, it's difficult to make that argument, particularly as an elected official, when so many people are calling for more police, because it is a black and white issue to so many people, and it's intentionally used as a wedge. I'm proud to say that I worked with OCNC when we were trying to develop the budget in 2015 to invest more in the arts. I worked with Eastside Arts Alliance. I actually got the permits and did all of the work for the Malcolm X Jazz Festival for years, and all of the block parties that they also had. I facilitated a coalition to be a part of the budget process every year since 2014 until I was elected, with a host of different nonprofit organizations to push for funding for the arts. And right now, I have a host of other things, including the Black Arts Movement Business District, and utilizing an enhanced infrastructure financing district to finance some of the things that we need so desperately when it comes to the arts in Oakland. There's a lot that we're doing. We tried to put forward a ballot initiative that I wanted to support with some of our larger institutions, but also not with not with understanding that we need funding for all of our artists, especially the small arts, artists in Oakland that don't benefit from some of the attention that some of our larger organizations get. We're hurting across the board, and art is what makes people want to be in Oakland. So we've got to do better in terms of figuring out how to fight for that. And I've been a champion and an ally for that for well over a decade. So I said I wasn't going to talk for 6 minutes, but there I go. I'm going to leave you with 40 seconds.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your responses. Yeah, well, there you go with the timer. Well, thank you so much, Councilmember 5. You leave a few seconds for all of you then at the end to be able to leave. I know you have another forum to get to. Next, another candidate from District 3. I want to welcome Michelle Haley to be highlighted on my screen. Welcome, Michelle. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. We already know the drill. We're going to give you 6 minutes. Tell us a little bit about the role that Oakland arts and culture has played in your life. And, tell us a little bit about why people should vote for you. What are the ways that you see this investment get better in Oakland? And I'm going to give you 6 minutes starting now.
Hello, I'm Michelle Haley. I am a 58-year resident of Oakland, now residing in West Oakland over the last 28 years or so. I'm uniquely a daughter and a child of Oakland, in the sense that I benefited greatly from being 60. In my childhood, there was so much of music and art and culture that was not only coming on the scene, but also such a big part of the educational system, and so much advocacy around art. As a small child, I have my family also. I come from a family of musicians. My grandmother toured with Billie Holiday. My father also played with B.B. King. My mother also sang. So it was kind of in my household. And as a young child growing up, going to the drive-in with my mother and seeing Mahogany, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be the next Diana Ross. So I lived my life at 6 years old. I would go out and I would have all these little clothes I would make, and I would just address myself. Okay, I'm Diana Ross, I'm Mahogany. What would Mahogany do? And so it just gave me this idea of, one, that anything was possible. And that's what arts and that's what music does. And coming up in a moment in time in Oakland, when we had the burst of the Black Panther movement, and we also had the burst of, I would come home and I didn't know who this wild guy was with the afro, and then come to find out it's like Sly Stone, so we just have so much magic here. And I think that magic is the pulse. And I said at a prior forum that Oakland is the 808 of the country. And if those of you who know, that's the drum machine that we wrote a lot of our music with in the 80s and the 90s. And I was privy to doing some of that work. I went to fashion design school, did a lot of cover work, wardrobe and album covers. And then as I grew up, I songwriting, and I worked with Dwayne Wiggins with the Tony. We did the first Destiny's Child album here. We recorded that in Oakland. A lot of people don't know that. Also, Alicia Keys' first album recorded in Oakland. So I also had the privilege of coming up in a time where I think that the Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame Awards, the Oscar Michelle Awards, was an amazing event that brought so much equity, and it was the Oscars of Oakland. And if elected, I would like to bring that back. I know that there are fragments and groups that are working in this space. So I think it also it basically, I think it aligns greatly with what Ms. Fife is already working with. And I think that there's a huge opportunity to build even more of an entertainment zone starting around the Paramount. And I'd also like to look at having more private input. We have Pandora, we have Pixlr, we have so many different options. I mean, not options, but we have so many different resources that we can pull from. We are living in an age where here in Oakland, there's so much amazing talent. It's so much going on that so many of us don't know about. And we need to find a way to bring all of that together under one particular tent. For me, when I first started out running in this race, I would say that public safety was, of course, the biggest issue. But then as I started to really look at my heart, I realized that what would be the biggest investment for me would be cultural arts, because the culture and the arts is what makes the city great. And people need to understand that when you have something to actually bring people back into the city, give people a reason to get dressed up. And also at the same time, you're providing, as Baba said, outlets for youth, outlets and different things for people to have something really great to do. I just think that it's actually criminal that more isn't put into the cultural and art system. Everything is kind of turned on its head. If I had my way, I would give you guys the police budget and we'd work our way down. That, humanity is what's at stake here. And it should start with everything that comes out of the heart and soul of this city. And that is what's so important to me. I said also that I think people are drawn to here. They come here, they don't know exactly why they move here, but it's that incredible beat, that underbelly of all of the things that we gave life to. As Oakland goes, so goes the country. So we have to uplift our cultural music and everything around it, whether it be arts, museum, everything. I'm just so supportive of that. And it would be a major part of my platform. So with that, I yield.
Michelle, thank you so much for your responses. 10 seconds. You guys are giving me a lot of time to be able to head out to your next forum. So I appreciate it. Last but certainly not least, from District 3, we have Warren Logan. Warren, welcome. You already know the drill. 6 minutes. Tell us about your influence of arts and culture. How is it going to play if you become council member, and how do you see making it a bigger investment in the city?
Yeah, thank you for that. Hi, everybody. I'm Warren Logan, the last but not least candidate for District 3, and I'm really happy to be here with all of you. I was reflecting for a second about Carol Fife's comment about all of the different pens and pencils that she got. I've just been sitting here thinking about my first kit of art supplies. I will acknowledge that arts for me has always been an escape as a gay Black kid growing up in a pretty conservative white neighborhood. I often felt that the after school and summer classes, junior theater was the place where I felt home, and that was like my escape. And it's interesting because Oakland's art and cultural scene is really the main reason I moved to Oakland. Again, as a Black adult and gay adult now, moving to Oakland to feel like I belong somewhere. Shortly after, sorry, I'm kind of choking up a little bit. Shortly after moving here, I created a group called the Black Queermen's Brunch that is now 10 years strong. And it started with just a group of my friends and has grown to a network of hundreds of members. And it has also spawned all these other groups for book clubs, for nightlife groups, and just a support system for people to feel like they have a safe space to celebrate and to just belong in the city and in the Bay and in the state and in the country, especially with so much going on. And so when I think about Oakland's arts and culture investments, it's primarily to me about celebration of our identity and then creating a sense of belonging for people for whom they grew up here and this is their home and that this is their identity. And, for people like me who've moved here in search of a safer place to express themselves, right? I think that Oakland's scene, if you will, is at the intersection of so many different identities. First of which, maybe one of my favorites is Rollin' with the Homos. A number of my friends produced that event. And I still am reflecting on like, where else can you go to see a drag show on skates with a waterfront view, families and their kids rolling around? I'm like, that to me is like love and community right there. And so when you ask, of course, like, what do we do to protect and to foster and to bolster this community? I think we should all acknowledge that this community is holding on by a thread. It is incredibly expensive to live here, and that much of our land use decisions have also pushed and pulled a lot of our artists out of their homes and out of their workplaces, right? I live next door to an artist loft, and I know what the pressures of this community are doing to the people who are making spaces and music right next door. In fact, I don't know if you can hear them. They're drumming right now, so forgive me. So when I look towards the future of Oakland and of investing in the arts and culture community, it is investing in ourselves. It is investing in that belonging in our identity. I recognize that all of the candidates here so far have understandably said, we need to give you more money. That's a given, we are not investing enough in the arts and culture community. I think one of the main reasons for that is because we see it as an additional line item, that it's one more piece on the top, the cherry, right? And not the integral part of every single element of the things we do. That economic development is also arts and culture, and that transportation improvements are also arts and culture, and that affordable housing is also arts and culture. So I'm going to name that. I think the other part, though, especially as we consider the future of the city's budget for the coming years, we can also invest our time. And that much of what I've heard from our artist community is also a frustration with city staff that, and I just posted an Instagram reel about this today, or a carousel, I guess, that the city's approach for many years has been to permit culture, to allow people to celebrate their lives. And that paradigm is problematic for me, that someone is giving me permission, and mainly an institution is giving me permission to celebrate my identity and to celebrate that I belong here. And that what I'm arguing as ideally your future city council member is that we should look back at a number of the permits, especially the special events permit, and revisit whether or not that is the right framework. Because if you talk to our artists, they don't really want to deal with the government. We are not good partners to work with. And I did something just like this with our Flex Streets program, where suddenly we made a lot of things easier to do and better yet, automatic. And to go back to both our businesses and our artists and say, you don't need to ask me for permission to live your life in a way that is celebratory and that it makes people feel like they belong. To me, that's critical. And I'll end here with the last point. One of the questions that you all asked us was about how we see the return of our investment. And on one hand, we can certainly argue or assert that the money we spend on arts and culture pay a dividend back in money, that money creates money, right? Like having festivals gets people back to work and puts people into small businesses and brings us sales tax revenue. That's true. But that I would argue the bigger dividend is one that we measure in cultural diversity and belonging. And that for many historic Oaklanders, and even people like me who've lived here over a decade, the return we're going to see out of these types of investments is people staying here, people living here, and that we're no longer saying, I used to live in Oakland. It's that I continue to live in Oakland, and that my family, the people just like me are moving back here. That to me is the greatest return we should be seeing from our arts and culture investments. So again, thank you all for bringing together this fabulous conversation. Azucena, it's great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, Warren. Well, I know that the District 3 candidates have to head out. They might not be able to stick around for a lot longer. They have another forum to attend. So I want to thank District 3 candidates, Baba Afolabi, current Councilmember Carol Fife, Michelle Haley, and Warren Logan for joining us and answering the questions. And now we're going to move on to District 1 candidates.
Thank
Two
you.
candidates. We have Edward Frank and Zach Unger, hoping I'm pronouncing that okay. Thank you so much for joining. Edward, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. You already know the drill. We want to hear from you, arts organizations, people tuning in. They want to hear the role that arts and culture has played in your life. How do you see, what's your vision for, you know, combining the conversation around public safety with arts and culture? How do you see that meddling? And of course, your vision for making a bigger investment into arts and culture for a thriving arts and culture here in Oakland. We'll give you 6 minutes and we'll start now.
Perfect. Thank you so much for holding this very important forum. The arts are very near and dear to me. I was just thinking about artists in my life. My dad, I feel like he was an aspiring rock star while I was growing up. My great-grandmother on my mom's side was a opera singer. My younger brother was just an amazing visual artist and musician. And I'm the father of a almost 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. And seeing them immerse themselves in the arts is just something special that I love to cultivate and support in them. I've been a stay-at-home dad for 9 years since my older son was born. Before that, I was working in the restaurant industry as a culinary artist. And so, I mean, I still sit down, like sitting down and coloring with my kids is just a therapeutic way to just release, to unbottle energy that's just stuck inside of you that you can't use words to express. And I was just looking in a magazine here. I found old, like just ink work that I did, like sitting down with them and having them color in their coloring books just inspires me to create. And so as a stay-at-home dad, I've been served as a PTA president at Emerson Elementary, where they both go to school here in the Temescal district in District 1. And one thing I'm really proud of is partnering with local Oakland arts communities like the Junior Center for Arts and Science and the People's Conservatory, and bringing outside bodies into the elementary school to work with every grade, to just sort of nurture the creativity in our young people. And I think that's, I heard Baba say, you know, investing in our young people today is going to pay off many dividends in the future when it comes to public safety and just the well-being of Oakland as a whole. From the festivals to our museums to, like he said in the handout that you guys gave, like after the George Floyd, you know, thing that ripped our country, just all of the beautiful murals of healing and expression that were all over downtown and in our neighborhoods, was just a beautiful expression that the news, you know, while the news was sowing division in a way, the art sort of brought us.
Oh, I'm sorry, Edward, I'm hearing someone not being muted. If whoever is not muted, could you please mute yourself? Edward, sorry about the interruption. Continue.
Okay. And so as a council member, I would definitely prioritize lifting up the arts. I heard Kev Choi speaking at the Othering and Belonging conference a few months ago, and I heard a bunch of other artists and creatives. I saw Fabiana Rodriguez presenting there. There are things that can be said through art. And there's just like the expression of imagination is something that makes humans human. Like it's just a fundamental expression of our humanity. And so we need to foster that. So yeah, making this like someone said, not a line item that can just be cut from our budget, but one of those integral sort of general fund portions, even if it's just like a small piece of the pie, we need to bake it into the pie every year, because it's just like people say, it's what brings people to Oakland, whether it's the vibrant music or the visual art. I mean, I connected with a visual artist, not in Oakland, but in Berkeley, close enough to, I mean, make the fun little handmade campaign signs I made. And I connected with our local print shop to make the prints, to pull them in my backyard here. So, I mean, art is what really connects us all. And it's sort of, we here in Oakland, I say, we are the heart of the Bay Area. And I feel like art is the heartbeat. It's what makes us go. It's what pumps the blood through all of us. And if anything is going to sort of connect us and connect us across cultures and help each other learn about each other's cultures and our commonalities and celebrating our differences, it's the arts. And so, you know, we talk about public safety and it's all about just how many more police we can put on the streets. But I truly believe that art fosters healing, and it is sort of the long-term investment that can make us more money in the near term, but it's going to pay off it's going to pay off so much down the road that I would certainly be a tireless advocate for arts in general, but especially arts instruction for our young people. So I'll leave it at that. And thank you again.
Thank you so much for your responses with 13 seconds to spare. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And now I want to welcome another candidate for District 1, Zach Unger. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. You already know the drill. Tell us about, you know, how has art played a role in your life? Tell us about your vision. If you were to become council member for District 1, you'll have 6 minutes and we'll start now.
Great. Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Zach Unger. I am a lifelong Oakland resident. I live on the same street that I grew up on, and I've really been in this community for a long time. And as a 27-year firefighter, veteran of the Oakland Fire Department, I've had the chance to be in every neighborhood in this city. You know, when I started thinking about art, a couple weeks ago, a friend of mine visited us from out of town with his 14-year-old daughter, and we went around and I took him to all the places I loved and did all the things I wanted to do. And we went to the Oakland Museum, and that was wonderful. They enjoyed it. But I realized as we were coming to the end of the weekend that we were surrounded by art in a dozen different ways, in a dozen different places that you don't even necessarily cognize as something like the museum. You know, the museum is art. But in Oakland, we are surrounded by art wherever we went. You know, we saw a couple of kids on scraper bikes going by, and that's art. You know, the way that the rose garden is curated and the way it smells, that's art. You know, the guy driving down the school in that sort of lowered old car, bumping old school R&B, that's art. And you know, even like my friend and fellow city council candidate Edward Frank here, the bread that he bakes is art, and the knife that he cuts it with is an heirloom piece of art, and the way that he shares it with everyone and lays it out is art. And you know, art is a synonym for love, and it's surrounding us here in Oakland. And what's really funny to me is the girl who visited, what she went home with was she fell in love with the mosaics on the garbage cans that are all over the place. And, you know, we pass by those every day and don't even think about it, right, anymore. But she's going to go back to her home in, you know, rural central California, and she wants to mosaic garbage cans because that just inspired something in her. For me, my sort of experience with art has mostly been literary art. My mom took me out of school exactly twice in my life, you know, because she had to work and because I had to go to school. Once was to see Geraldine Ferraro speak, the first female presidential ticket candidate. And the other time was to go to a book signing of an author who I really loved. And she took me out of school, and I got to meet this man who had created a world, who created an artistic world for me. And that really made a huge impression on me. And I think that Oakland has had a really dynamic literary art scene, as well as a music scene and a sculpture scene and a mural scene. We had Litquake here for a while. We had the Oakland Book Festival. I remember, a few years ago when we were all talking to each other about Tommy Orange's book. We'd all read it, right? Everyone wanted to talk about what they saw in there, and that one city, one book thing. I've written 2 books myself, and when I got to read from my book at the same bookstore that my mom took me to see that artist who made such an impression on me, that was, one of the crowning experiences of my life. And then, a few weeks ago, I fought the fire at Diesel Bookstore, and that, even as I was fighting that fire, I could feel the loss in culture and community and that sort of central place that it occupies in our art scene. Literary arts have been sort of my home in the art scene, but I usually blur my background on these Zoom calls, but I wanted you all to see this mural that I and my fellow firefighters had commissioned here at our Union Hall. That was something that was really valuable to us. And I think that if you drive on 880 and look at our fire drill tower, you will see a couple of years ago, we commissioned another mural there because we wanted to show as firefighters that we love the art scene and that art is a part of something that feels so, just like gritty and not artistic, the firefighting world, but yet that is an important part of the city for us. I think that art plays an incredible role in so many different areas of our city. It inspires tourism. It inspires civic pride. I mean, that's why we did this mural here and at our fire training tower. And it also enhances safety. When people are out experiencing art, being in community with each other, that makes for safer streets and safer neighborhoods. I think that we can't underestimate the way all of these little sort of art nuggets inspire our community and draw people to our community. And I want to emphasize that as a community. Like, it's not New York where you're going to the symphony and you're going to the Met. You're coming to Oakland to be completely surrounded by art in every different possible way. And I think we do a really wonderful job of that. And so much of it is guerrilla art. It's not sanctioned by anyone. It's just done and it's out there, and we love it, right? I think specifically what we need to do is we need to include art in future bond measures. When we talk about infrastructure measures, we say, all right, measure U or whatever, it has 40 million for firehouses and 100 million for road paving or whatever. Let's put in $1 million for public art, right? That's not going to change whether that ballot measure passes or not. It's not gonna change the amount of the parcel tax really, but it's something that will really have an effect, because yes, we are not spending enough money on art, but that also tells us that you can spend just a little bit of money and make an incredible impact on art. Number 2, I'm a big supporter of public art requirements in new developments. I think that we should require, that's a community benefit that we need to require developers to include. And then the last one is, I just want to emphasize festivals. I had so much fun as a kid, going to Festival at the Lake or all these things. And now First Fridays and Art Month, all of that, we need to really emphasize those festivals. I mean, I would love it if we had 1 a month, 2 a month as a central locator of the art experience in Oakland. So again, thank you all for putting this on. Thank you for all of your work in the art community. You've done an incredible job and I appreciate it.
Zach, thank you so much. Thank you for having us. And thank you again to Zach and Edward for joining us this afternoon. And now we're going to move on to the candidates for District 7 who will be representing Deep East Oakland, whom some people might not think as an incubator of art. They might not see it that way, but Deep East Oakland has, deeply rooted culture, artists. I mean, I could name a few. There's the Futures Fest festival that happens every year. There's the 81st Avenue Library that hosts just so many events all the time. And so, yeah, we want to hear from the potential city council member who will be representing Deep East Oakland. I want to first welcome all the candidates. We have Marika Goolsby, Marshy Hodge, Ken Houston, and Iris Marinos. And I apologize if I'm mispronouncing the last name. And first, we're going to start with Marika. Marika Goolsby, are you with us? Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, yes, I am here. Thank you for having this forum and talking about arts and culture. It's so very important. So I should just jump in?
Yeah, well, let me kind of rephrase the questions for you once again for people who watch the recording, who might be tuning in a little later. We want to hear from you about the role that arts and culture has played in your life. As a potential future council member, what is your vision for merging arts and culture with the conversation around public safety? Currently, the biggest conversation here in the city, and also being the arts and culture is an essential asset here in the city. How do you think that the city should enhance its investment in the arts and culture? We're going to give you 6 minutes. You'll see the timer here in the corner of my screen, and we'll start now.
Thank you so much. As you all know, I'm Marika Goolsby. I was born and raised in San Francisco, and I've lived in the East Bay as an adult all of my adult life. Arts and culture has always been a part of my life since as far back as I can remember. I've always been an aspiring artist as far as painting and drawing. I have studied piano. I did a little study of guitar. And every school I've been in, I have been in the drama club, just being in school plays and practicing acting. And as a young adult, I like to go to artistic events. When I was in my early 20s, I used to go to a cabaret show called Fairy Butch. 5 years ago, I was in a queer Black drama club called Black Don't Crack. I also participated in a dance program called Emphatic Dance for plus size dancing and disabled dancing. And most recently, I really appreciate, as far as culture goes, what people have just really started realizing lately is that like Black hair is art. And so much so, like we have to have the Crown Act just so Black women can wear their natural hair in any way that they see fit without being called unprofessional and things like this. And the thing that I love the most in Oakland is the Malcolm X Jazz Festival. I've gone to that almost every chance that I can. And I think art and culture is very important. Just like someone else said, it's healing. It's a way of it's fulfilling. It's a way of expanding your life. And something I've noticed now is that so many people, including myself, spend their whole life going to work just to pay bills, and work for survival kind of consumes all of our time and energy. And then there's not much time or energy left for joy. And I feel like this is a quality of life issue. Because without arts and culture, if you're just on a hamster wheel, going to work, going to school, going and just home to pass out and then do it all over again the next day, I think this can cause rage. This can cause depression. This can cause just people feeling like, why bother? What is the point? And as far as the question regarding public safety, I think this is where the two kind of merge as far as public safety and art, because like I said, honestly, I feel that my district, and probably more than my district in District 7, that there's so much rage and sadness and feeling of uncare and unworthiness and disrespect for so many reasons. But I think a large part of that is because people are just in survival mode. People that are surviving on the streets, people that are housing insecure and really don't have time for anything else. What question am I missing? I'm sorry.
No, well, how do you see the cultural sector as one of Oakland's essential assets? So how do you think the city should enhance its investment to make its return more robust?
Definitely. I definitely think we need to put more time, more energy into arts and culture because it's a necessity. It's not just, it should never be treated as an afterthought of something you do if you have extra time. Because joy is such a huge, important part of the human experience. And just like someone else said earlier, that when youth and even people that are not young have outlets, arts, culture, sports, just other outlets to relieve stress, anger, anxiety, or even express joy. This helps as far as safety, because if someone is so pent up, people will act out in all sorts of ways. And I think when we start focusing on people over profits, arts and culture will be prioritized more instead of just throwing people in a hamster wheel to make someone money.
Great. With 19 seconds to spare, Marika, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. And stick around for people joining. We will have a brief Q&A after we wrap up with the candidates for District 7. And now I want to welcome Marcy Hodge. She is another candidate in District 7. Is she on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Hi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, welcome. Well, you already know the drill.
I think we may have the wrong person.
I think we have the wrong, yeah, I said.
Talk about a way to put you on the spot. Sorry about that.
No, no worries. You know, technical difficulties happen when we're trying to do Zoom calls. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. You already know the drill. Tell us about arts and culture in your life. If you become council member, how do you see it as part of your, not only as part of your platform, but as part of how you would help arts and culture if you become council member? You have 6 minutes and we'll start now.
Okay, I can see the time there. So thank you again for the open door. My name is Marcy Hodge, and I am a lifelong resident of East Oakland. I attended all of the schools here in East Oakland, Sobrani, King Estates, and Skyline High School. Throughout my time through school, we fortunately received a lot of monies in terms of arts and culture. So through elementary into junior high, even high school, of course, Skyline was a performing arts school. I learned to play several instruments, violin, trumpet, saxophone, and while I am from a very musical family, I also learned how to play the organ, which I can play. I can hold service, a church service for my mom, drums. And so art music was very heavily integrated. And of course, as a high school student, it was just definitely very plentiful, whether it was through song, art, being artistic with your hands, paint, whether it was acting, all of that was just very prominent. And so oftentimes, because a lot of our young people, they don't necessarily identify certain things that are just integrated through our lives and identify those things as art. So it's important to make sure as a council person to communicate that information to individuals, because while the funding that is allocated towards arts is really quite minimal, there has to be a development and a strategic plan towards identifying public and private partnerships. And again, because it's so integrated in my family, whether it's my grandfather, who, when he was alive, played the guitar, my older brother, who, held our services on the organ and piano. And again, again, those are important components. It brings families together. It brings communities together. If I am gathering with my family, whether it's my maternal or paternal side, it's not uncommon to break out in song or for someone to be asked to play. So it's a real integral part into bringing communities together. And I definitely understand that. In terms of health, as a psychologist, I know that it's also integrative for people to take time out to either listen to music, to seek out some type of entertainment, whether that's just going to the movies, whether that's walking the city and looking at the beauty and the landscape, the murals. It is the lure of the city that helps to encourage people and to really identify the history of what Oakland is. And we live in a wonderful, vast cultural landscape that generations have left behind to tell a story, and those who will leave a story for us to come in the years. One of the other things that we also have to emphasize is that artists, they dream. And oftentimes, if that is not necessarily just a part of who you are, it can be developed. And so sometimes our dreams are telling stories of how to deal with different challenges or issues, or resolving issues that oftentimes when we look at like a movie like Matrix, that was, a movie that I love, but many of those components of the Matrix or other movies were very futuristic to us then, but seems to be unfolding in the generation of technology today. And so we've got to be able to understand that it's a storyline. It feeds the human soul. Art, it helps to define a city. If you're looking to shift and create culture and change the identity of a city, and certainly Oakland has carried a mantle over the last few years of crime and different challenges, you undergird art as a way to help to change the identification of a city. And once people begin to understand that art is just a vehicle for ideas, and it is oftentimes the arts that is a progenitor of those ideas for the future, how to resolve, how to bring about better communication. Even if I'm working with a client and it's a difficult topic, I will leverage art as a way to extend communication and to talk about difficult things. But I think it's important that we definitely look at, as one other person talked about, bonds or to help fund art. And I think we're going to definitely need that in terms of helping to change the coloring and the identification of what Oakland is. We also have to make sure that there's an understanding of the ROI, the return of investment, and undergirding arts, because you have places like New York City where they're bringing in almost $1 million because of their public and private partnerships. Or you look at Canada and their festivals that bring in almost, just from people coming, $80 million. Los Angeles, who has a wonderful arts and culture community and scene. I believe it's Grand Park that brings in about close to $100 million annually. So we really have to see it as a return on investment and not just as granting money and we don't see any return. So it's important as a council person to be able to identify those things as goals.
Marcy, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, being here, and your thoughtful responses. And now I want to welcome Ken Houston to join me to answer the questions as well. As Ken on the call?
It looks like Ken has stepped off the call.
Okay. Well, Ken, maybe he'll join us before we wrap up, and he'll be able to answer some questions. So now we're going to move on to the next candidate, Iris Marinos. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Iris?
Iris Marians.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Welcome.
No worries.
You know the drill.
Thank you.
6 minutes. We want to hear from you about the role that arts and culture has played in your life. Tell us about your vision for how to merge conversations surrounding public safety and arts and culture. And of course, your vision for how you see making a greater investment in arts and culture to make the city thrive. You have 6 minutes. You'll see the timer here in the corner, and we'll start now.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you about our vision for Oakland. My name is Iris Marians. I'm currently the Chief of Staff to Councilmember Janani Ramachandran. And previously, I was Chief of Staff to Councilmember Larry Reed. And over those 25 years as being Chief of Staff, writing policy, it put me at the forefront of advocating for District 7 residents for 23 of those years. And as as I look at where District 7 is, and all of the work that we put into bringing businesses and youth development centers and so many different things around the district, you can see we're hands in. I want to bring that back to some degree, grow the businesses, make sure that public safety and economic development are threaded together. So thank you for the question. So part of our work in the district was working with Patrons for the Arts. We activated Dunsmuir House and Gardens with music festivals, different artists, vendors from around Oakland. So when you look at District 7, there is space for art. There is a space to activate that brings family and culture together. So we partnered with Lionel B. and Bay Area Productions, and we held a jazz festival there. So you can activate these spaces. Dunsmuir House is a beautiful landscape. When you look at the Laurel Street Fair and you go back to Oakland, we have a landscape of grass and sprawling lawn where people can come together and bring their families. One of the things I'd like to do is Gospel in the Valley. So these are some of the ways that we can open up. And for youth and young adults, we write a measure called Measure Y. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And it was to fund programs for youth development centers and a lot of different social programs that looked at youth violence and violence interruption for youth. Youth Uprising was a labor of love, and it has 3 buckets: health and wellness, career and education, arts and expression. If you walk into Youth Uprising, which you may not be familiar with, when you come up the door, the roadway, that's a public art piece. In the restrooms, we have a landscape of black and white, like subway panels. In the men's bathroom, it says, stand and deliver, but they're in panels. So these are public art pieces for our young people. And arts and expression could be spoken word, it can be music, the hyphy movement and hyphy dance. YU, Turf Fiends. The videos are everywhere. Have you seen them? They have 100 million views. So this is arts and expression that is in the East. These are resources for our young people. And so this is something near and dear to my heart. One of the things that we worked on, if you remember Oakland back in the day at the Paramount Theater, was the Black Filmmakers Festival. It was like Hollywood. So one of our local artists, Dwayne Wiggins, our office worked with him to bring that back. So we did a one-time, and we had a panel discussion at City Hall, and they had the Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame right here at the Paramount. We also worked with Linda Creighton to bring Oakland Art and Soul. So these are projects that I've been attached to. And the 81st Street Library, I heard somebody speak about that earlier. We used our own PAYGO money from our office to complete some of the design. If you look at the sports center in East Oakland, you look at the wall, you see Larry's picture there. But we brought artists there who wanted to come back to Oakland, like Keisha Cole. We had horses and gift bags for the youth and young adults. But art, even when you look at the bike scene and you look at the car scene in Oakland, it's part of the culture. They put a lot of money into making these cars what they are. They put a lot of money into making the bikes what they are. It is part of the culture. Also, the young people who were working the scraper bikes, all of that. We have a scraper bike as soon as you walk in the door. So the threading of art through Oakland and Oakland's culture, it's part of the culture. Oakland is a melting pot of so many different cultures, even culinary arts, the food, the different cultures here that melt together. One of the things that brought Youth Uprising together were the riots that were happening on Castlemont's campus. And, you know, we were trying to just flip this around and say, we have a very, very rich culture in Oakland, and why don't we embrace that? So we started off trying to do these little assemblies for young people to speak about their heritage, from their food to the way they speak. And then they said, well, here's what we want to do. And so that's what Youth Uprising was born from. So now it's 25,000 square feet for youth and young adults that have been impacted by culture. We gutted the building, turned it around. We turned it around, put the entryway on MacArthur, and everything is state of the art. And we also have a school-based health center there, where young people 13 to 25 can be seen and have their health needs met right in community. So again, I think that, and then we also partnered with Youth Speak, Youth Sounds. And part of that work was, you know, spoken word, so that young people could express themselves. They do need an outlet. Okay, and my time is up.
Your time is Iris, thank you so much for telling us about your background, all the initiatives that you have been a part of during your time being chief of staff. Yeah, I really appreciate your responses. I want to thank my timer there. Thank you, everyone. All the candidates who joined us today.
Hello.
I know that we sorry. I don't know who, someone has their mic unmuted. Okay, there you go. Yeah, I want to thank everyone for being here, all the candidates. I know we still have candidates who are on the call right now, and we do have a few questions from folks who have joined. So if I can get removed from the spotlight so I can see everyone's faces and ask questions. Perfect, there you go. That would be really helpful. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we have just a few questions, and I see a few of the candidates still on the
Susanna,
call. Yes.
I am so sorry, but it looks like Ken has rejoined the call. He's just
did.
David Cruz.
Ooh,
Okay.
I did. How you doing?
We will hold off on the, Ken, give me just 1 second. We're gonna hold off on the questions. Now that
Okay.
Ken has joined the call. Ken, we're going to you. You're the last one on the call to answer the questions. 6 minutes for you to tell us a little bit about the role that arts and culture has played in your life.
Okay.
Your vision for how arts and artists should be a part of the solutions around the conversation regarding public safety. And also, how do you see and how do you think the city should enhance its investments in arts and culture? So 6 minutes, you see the timer at the corner of my screen, and we'll start now.
Okay. Hello, my name is Ken Houston. I'm born and raised in Oakland, third generation. And I don't know if I'm going to dig a hole for myself when I say this is probably the most important forum that that touches me in my heart. I don't know if you saw the mural that that on 35th and 34th of Market when I first got on. Did you guys see that little mural in the background? Did you see that?
No.
Oh,
we believe it.
Because that was Art Esteem, and I support that for the Heroes mural that's down there. We helped clean it up. So let me give you a little history. The Beautification Council is a 501c3, and I started off with graffiti vandalism, right? And if you look right behind, you'll see Mural in Progress. I'm right here on 17th and Jefferson, and what we do and what I do right now, I'm talking about what we actually do, is embrace art. I've been an artist. Come here. I just picked my daughter up. You didn't see that either. I just picked her up from the BART station, and she is a artist, right? So art is a part of our family, and it's in my DNA. And when we started off the Beautification Council, it morphed into working with the homeless and picking up illegal dumping and doing the training with the justice impactors and the unhoused. but it started off with graffiti vandalism because it's just destroying our city. However, they have some great artists, some great kids that just need the opportunity to be able to express themselves. When I was in high school, they had dance, they had crocheting, they had all these things that art that embraced the children. We don't have them like that any longer, and that really hurts me being an artist because that's what I was. I was an artist until my father died when I was 12, and then I just went down the wrong way. But my mom was always religious, and she said, "Ken, if Jesus was a carpenter, you
No,
can be one too." Yeah. So who said no?
I think someone might have their mic unmuted by
Yeah,
mistake.
they need to unmute. They need to keep it muted, saying stuff like that. Um, so 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 what happened was I actually went into architecture, right? Which it was an expression of art, right? So that's what I went into. So I seen how important that is, that expression on how to express yourself. So like right here, this building right here at Arc, right here on 17th and Jefferson is a mural that we're going to get the children together. We already got a rendering that we're going to actually put a beautiful piece of art here. And I'm going to do one in East Oakland also to express themselves, right? The kids at the Art Academy at the Fox Theater, we're embracing them. So art has been like a part of my culture and part of me all my life. And that's where I started off with the Beautification Council. So what can I express to you about art without actually putting it out this way? We actually have a program called Clean California Maintenance Agreement. And a young man came to us, and he is one of the worst serial vandals out here in the Bay Area. He came and started working with us, doing the micro cleaning and sanitization. Then I found out, how you doing? I found out that he was a graffiti vandal. So I spoke to him, talked to him, and now he's not doing the vandalism any longer. He's going to help with creating this beautiful art on this wall. So that's a part of public safety, because they say a beautiful city is a safe city, right? And when you have the graffiti vandalism with these youngsters, it's just trying to express themselves. That's all it is, right? Trying to express themselves. And some of them are good. When I say good, if I had that talent, I wouldn't be doing this, right? So we need to embrace the children. We need to embrace just all art, music, dance. My daughter just said she was wanted to get into dance. All the arts are very dance performance tomorrow. Yeah, it's just very important to for safety and just to embrace our youngsters and have a little bit of what we had when we were in high school. So that's what I like to share with you.
Great. Well, Ken, you have a minute left. Anything else you would like to add, or would you like to yield the time back for a few other questions?
I like to say, go by 35th and 36th on Market Street. Art Esteem that did that piece of art that was there for heroes. When COVID happened, the homeless encampments fell in. It was fires all under there. I got a phone call. Could I come and help? So we have some funding from the county right now to actually embrace art. We just received it. So that funding is going to go to this mural, go to one in East Oakland, and it's already gone to the one that's on 35th and 34th by cleaning up the sidewalk and embracing so they can go put that piece of art up, the art children's, it's heroes. Yeah, heroes. Go by and look at it and see how beautiful it was. And if you were in the neighborhood, and I saw Councilmember Fife was on here earlier when I first started, she should go by there and see it. She'll be proud of what that art and that mural has done for that community. Safe city, clean city, beautiful city. Thank you.
Great, Ken, thank you so much. We have a few questions from people tuning in. So we're gonna remove the spotlight from myself and Ken, and so I'll be able to see everyone who's still on the call. The candidates who are still on the call, perfect, great. So these are really, really good questions that I have. And so what we're gonna do is I am gonna set my timer for a minute. No, don't start it yet. We're gonna do a minute answers for each of you, and we're gonna go sort of like in the way that you are on my screen. That's how we're going to answer the question. So I see you, and then we're gonna I'm gonna call out your name. You'll have 1 minute to answer the question. So, okay, candidates, pay attention. Here's the first question. If you could restructure Oakland City government, where would you situate the arts? That is the questions. We are gonna start with who is on my screen. Let's see. Well, Edward, they put you on the spotlight, so we'll start Edward with you, but if we can remove the spotlight, please, from both of these candidates, that would be great.
Azucena, would it be okay if we spotlighted all of the candidates so you can see who's left?
Sure, yeah, we could, that's great, yeah.
Great. In order to
Spotlight
spotlight,
the candidates. The first person on my screen was Edward, so we'll give, we'll start with Edward with this question. So once again, the question is, where'd my question go? If you could restructure Oakland City government, where would you situate the arts? Edward, you have 1 minute. We'll start with you, starting now.
If I could restructure our city government, I would fold the arts into either the Department of Public Works or the Department of Recs, Park, and Youth Development. I think we could put money into both of those, and if arts was infrastructure instead of just an add-on, I think it would be a boon to our city. And if we added funds to the Department of Recs, Park, and Youth Development, it'd just be good for our young people. I was watching my son play Little League Baseball at Mosswood Park the other day, and off in right field, there's a homeless encampment. And I thought, how do we keep these kids from ending up over there? Not literally when they're hitting the balls, but like the path from here to there. And I just thought, man, if we more robustly funded that department and got more kids playing music, making art, expressing themselves through spoken word and poetry, that would be a great help.
Great, Edward, thank you so much. Ken, you're next on my screen. Same question, 1 minute, starting now.
Did you say Ken?
Yeah.
I would restructure it to joint venture with the schools, because the school and the city are separate, basically separate. I would join those together, and also with Oakland Public Works, because that's who cleans up the graffiti vandalism. I would actually restructure it to blend it in with Oakland Public Works and the school district, because those two are critical points. The school district has the youth. You got to catch them when they're young, and everyone knows this. When they are older than 13, you lose them. You lose them to the streets. You lose them to graffiti vandalism. You lose them to other things where they won't dance. They won't do the things that art provides for them. So it'd be Oakland Unified School District, and it'd be Oakland Public Works. That's what it would be, restructured in that order.
Great, Ken, thank you so much. Iris, you're next on my screen. 1 minute, starting now.
I think it depends on the type of art. They belong in different departments. One of my projects was bringing the Wayans here to Oakland. It was a very difficult project to lift, and it was going to be film studios and other things that were coming to Oakland. And that was moving through our marketing division. When you're looking at other arts that would go through Parks and Rec, that's another division. Then EWD. So economic development would probably be where I started, but it would branch off into other divisions of the city to carry it, because every division has a different function, and you want to make sure that it aligns with the division itself. And so I would put them in three different departments, depending on if you're working with young people, you would be in HSD. If it was something bigger, then it would go into EWD and also our marketing division. So I don't see it in one place. I see it in multiple places in the city. Thank you.
Iris, thank you so much. Zach, you're next on my screen. You have 1 minute, starting now.
Thank you. So I agree with Iris. I think that putting art in a place is antithetical to the nature of art. I think that art needs to permeate all of our departments. And, yes, economic and workforce development is a great place to have as sort of the hub of it. But I think that all departments need to be considering how art fits into their work. I mean, whether you're the head of the swimming pools or the head of public works, there are ways to incorporate art into everything we do. And I think that it always comes down to money. And so when we're talking about where do we put art, I think what we're talking about is how much money do we put towards it. And it's less important to talk about which department it's in than how robustly we fund it. And as I mentioned earlier, it's tragic that we put so little money to art, but we've done so much with so little that it shows us again that if we just put a little bit more towards art, we're going to have dividends that pay off. So let's put art everywhere.
Zach, thank you so much. Marcy, you're next on my call. 1 minute starting now.
Yeah, I think it would be important to look at arts in terms of multiple lenses. We don't want to identify arts through an economic lens, but as a way in which arts and infuse it through many different components of, if we're looking at Parks and Rec or the youth development department or the planning and building, because planning and building in terms of cultural activities involve public spaces. I think a holistic approach is going to benefit identifying arts and culture in a way where it bleeds throughout all of the departments as a holistic approach. So that would be my, response to that.
Great, Marcy, thank you so much. And Marika, you're the last one. You have 1 minute to answer the same question, starting now.
Thank you. So I believe that arts and culture needs its own department. I think to assume other departments have to have arts and culture weaved in is a great way to have arts and culture treated as an afterthought. Like, oh, we have to do all this. Oh, and don't forget arts and culture. Let's talk about that. I think arts and culture needs to be its own department with its own priorities that check in and partner with other departments. And that's how I would restructure.
Great.
Thanks.
Marika, thank you so much. Well, I think we don't have time for more questions. Unfortunately, we're right at the time. So I want to make sure that I turn the mic over back to Lori and Vanessa. Thank you to all the candidates who joined us today for your thoughtful responses about arts and culture, an area, of course, a crucial part of what makes Oakland, Oakland. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. And yeah, turning the mic back to Lori and Vanessa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. First of all, a huge thanks to the candidates for taking time to be with us this evening and for your passion for the arts and your creative ideas about how to really lift up the arts in Oakland. I don't know that I need to tell you all, but we are a very fragile ecosystem right now. Cultural institutions, individual artists, small arts organizations, larger arts organizations are really, really challenged right now, and we need to have the strong support and partnership with the city. So we're thrilled to hear about your ideas. Thank you to those of you who were able to join as well. I do want you to let you know that these are the groups that came together to organize these forums. We are recording them, as you heard at the beginning, and we'll be posting the recordings of the forum on websites of some of our participating organizations, the Oakland Museum of California, the Oakland Symphony, and Oakland Art Murmur. The recording of our first forum is already posted on these sites. And for those of you who registered, we'd love to keep in touch with you through your email about future advocacy efforts on behalf of the arts and culture in Oakland. And we will close with a huge reminder to vote. Please vote. Ballots are already in your mailboxes. November 5th is the deadline, and please think about the arts as you think about the future of Oakland and our city. And again, thanks to you all for participating, and good luck to the candidates with the remainder of your campaigns. Thank you. Take good care, everybody. Have a good evening.